Today on the Ferment Station, ever wonder how some drinks feel rich and full even without any sweetness?
That's right. Today we're doing a deep dive on tannins and acids and what they bring to flavor profiles.
Welcome to the Ferment Station. This is the podcast for the City Steading Brews YouTube channel. I'm Brian.
I'm Derica.
And let's talk about tannins and acids. Everybody's favorite topic, right?
Actually, we really like using tannins and acids in homebrew.
Yeah.
And we talked about this once before on City Steading Brews, but we felt like it was worth repeating and going maybe a little bit further here on the Ferment Station.
Something really important to understand is that tannins and acids are 2/3 of the balance of a brew. So if you, whoops, hit my microphone. So if you ignore one or the other or both, you're leaving out a lot of stuff. You're leaving a lot on the table that you could really be using to enhance the flavors in your brew.
And the reason why we take into consideration any of these things really is to create body in a brew. And I think this was the one thing we didn't talk about when we originally
we don't really
addressed
use body.
This topic. And so I think body is a great place for us to start. So what is body?
Oh boy, this is kind of a complex subject, but some of it is, she has notes here. Weight, texture, and richness. To me, that embodies what body really is. I think that kind of covers it, but there's a lot more.
Sure. If you are familiar with wines and somebody has offered you a full-bodied wine, that is going to have an inherent amount of complexity and flavor depth. And this is what's coming from that is not necessarily sweetness, because lots of times that's used to describe a dry wine.
But it's not even just flavors, though. Body is flavors and sensation in the mouth, mouthfeel, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those things together create body. And that's why it's kind of difficult to explain to someone who's never used this term or doesn't understand it or is just learning along the way. It's really complicated to explain, but that's a great way to see it. Is it's the flavor and the sensation in the mouth that creates body or lack thereof.
Lots of times, sweetness actually gets in the way of you really appreciating the body of a beverage, because it can mask so many different things and make it feel more viscous and rich, just simply because there's sugars still available.
Sure.
Acid and tannins create a scaffold for creating body.
She's pulling out the college level words.
So we are building structure, literally, to our beverage.
Oh, that's a good way to see it.
By balancing out the tannins and acids and having them interplay with each other and the other flavors inherent in what we're brewing to create a stronger body of our brew.
That's very interesting. See, this is the part of brewing that's more theoretical and like it'll play in your mind trying to figure out what to counter this and what to counter this and how to bring this up and enhance that. And this is the Tetris that sometimes happens, that it happens behind the scenes on our channel more than you may realize. Like there's more going into our recipes than may meet the eye. We're taking usually fairly complex processes and methods and all this stuff and trying to simplify it down into something that even somebody who's never made a brew before can probably do it. Even with just a little bit of know-how, you could probably do it. And that's one thing that I really love about the way we do our channel, is that we are taking these complex things, making it easy for everybody.
We're distilling it.
Yeah. I didn't want to use that word because, it's a thing.
Yeah.
But distilling means to just, you know what it means. It doesn't just mean alcohol.
Narrow it down.
Yeah.
All right. So when we are creating a recipe, we actually have a pretty in-depth conversation about what is it
days usually
we want to brew, whether it be a concept, like a fantasy brew, what would create those flavor profiles? What are those flavor profiles even described in the universe? Are they described in the universe? I don't know.
Funny thing about our recipe building, though, is it might, like, say it's November. It's not. Right now it's August. But say it was November. The idea comes to us to, we should make this thing. And usually one or the other of us dismisses it out of hand. Just, sure, at some point. A few weeks later, one or the other of us will mention it again and go, yeah, we could think about that. And then now there's like a seed formed in our brains, and both of us start thinking about it. And then like a month or two down the road, it comes up again.
Or we'll be at the store and we'll see the ingredient.
Yes.
The ingredient.
It sparks it off. And then
like, oh.
And that's when it starts to come together more. And then as we're getting closer, you can tell we're getting closer because we're both bringing it up now and then. And then when the notepad comes out, that's when you know it's serious, and we start writing things down.
Like, okay, what flavors are going to enhance this flavor that we're going for? What's going to take care of this problem that's inherent that we know about already? And then we show you as we're creating it when the path diverges, because lots of times the brew itself is going to say, hey, your idea was great, but I need this now. And so we try to express that in our videos to show, okay, we had this concept that we're going to do this one thing and we're not doing that anymore because of this.
As her father likes to say, we create a plan to diverge from.
Yeah.
But go with the flow. You know, if the brew says this, go with this.
Listen to the brew.
Yeah. Too many times people fight their recipes instead of going with it. And that's where problems occur. That's where you get things that are out of balance, don't taste quite right, or whatever. Like if you have a really nice traditional mead recipe, you want to make it super high ABV. You're now fighting against the balance that recipe inherently had, which means you have to make up for it with other things. And I think I'm going way off topic here, so I'm going to stop.
We are, because we're focusing today on body and the scaffold of tannins and acids. So we're going to be talking about tannins and acids to create body. What are tannins? What are acids? How they interact, and how to create balance. So let's start off with tannins.
Actually, I would like to say one thing. Sure. It says here, what are tannins and what are acids? I would like to point out that they're both acids. But they are. She's pinching me, for those that can't see. They are, because tannins are formed from tannic acids. But, you know, that's a whole other thing. They cause different flavors. And I'm getting the look. I can feel it. I'm not even looking at her.
I'm just burning it right through his skull.
Yeah, I'm very used to that.
Tannins, Brian. Let's focus on tannins.
Okay, what about them? What do you want to know?
What are they? Where are they from?
Okay, they come from, like, you can get it from oaking. You can get it from using powder tannin. You can get it from tea. There's a lot of sources. Dark chocolate has tannins in it. Is this what we're looking for? Like how to do it in a brew? Or are you just looking for tannins in general?
Basically,
you were very vague in your question.
I got notes, but it's fine. Tannins come typically from plant material. So if you think about tannins in wine, they're going to be using the grape skins, the grape seeds, even the grape stems from the bunches of grapes. All of those different elements are going to have tannins in them. Also, Brian already mentioned tea leaves, coffee, oak. These all have tannins and can bring tannins plus their inherited flavors into a brew.
It's an astringent drying sensation, and she wrote it down pretty interesting, that adds grip to the experience. And I like that word because
we've never used that particular term.
No, we never have.
We've
but
talked
that's a
about
good word.
mouthfeel and that it has staying power.
Yeah.
But grip. It grips your mouth.
I describe it as sandpaper.
Yep.
But that's even too strong of a word because that makes it sound negative.
Because that sounds abrasive.
Yeah, it's not. It's more.
It just hangs on. It clings.
Yeah, like clings. It grips and clings. The grip and cling.
It's got fingers.
We might need a T-shirt that says grip and cling. Because that would be funny.
Because that wouldn't get any questions.
Oh, that's kind of awesome, actually.
So this is a really great vehicle, going back to my structure metaphor, where if you have a tannic property to a brew, it is going to have staying power in your mouth, and it'll bring forth those other flavors to stay in your mouth as well.
Right.
And that's where we're talking about structure and building body, is that if you have a brew that has very limited tannins, then that structure may start to crumble and you won't have staying power in your mouth. Those flavors won't be able to grip.
But if you have only tannins and weak other flavors, the tannins can overpower and it just becomes tannic, and it's kind of...
Then you just got like a mouthful of concrete if we're going to go through...
it's a mouthful of sandpaper.
Of their structure metaphors.
Well, a mouthful of concrete would be a lot of structure. You have a mouthful of sand.
Yeah, it's just not good.
Dirt,
Not, you can't build on
sandpaper,
that. You can't build on that.
Nope.
It's like quicksand, which
was supposed to be a much larger problem.
as a child,
Everything had quicksand. I have seen it like twice in my entire life.
I don't know if I've ever seen it.
Most people haven't.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I've seen some things.
He has.
Been some places.
That's a different topic. All right, so now we're going to go on to acid because I feel like we have a pretty good structure of what tannins are. So what are
She
acids?
writes her own jokes.
I do. They're not even on the paper. They just
No,
come to me.
I did not write those. I do not want any credit given to me for her jokes.
He wants no responsibility for my
I have my
sad
own
sense of
jokes.
humor.
Thank you very much.
So what are acids, Brian?
They are things that are lower in pH than water.
Thank you.
She has it. I mean, that's things like, citrus and vinegar. She has some other stuff. Fermented items that are the lactic acids.
Yep.
That I don't like using notes.
It's
Okay. Because I feel like
okay.
I need to look up at the camera. So that's why I'm just I'm freestyling it here. Okay.
All right. So that's what has acid in it. But what does acid bring to the picture? It's going to bring brightness, sharpness. It's going to kind of give a bump to any sort of flavor, particularly when it comes to fruity notes.
But it can also make it taste a little sour sometimes. Like think of a
Right.
sour cider or sour beers. Those are actually from lactic acid a lot of the time. That's what's causing it to taste sour.
So if we're using our structure metaphor again, we have tannins kind of building the base and creating that grip so that things can stay in there. And then acids are elevating it, making it into a skyscraper and bringing the notes upward.
So are you trying to say the tannins are the foundation and acids are the upper floors?
Yeah.
But it doesn't really work.
It doesn't really work that way, but I was
The
trying
metaphor
I was trying to be clever.
it falls flat.
All right. So we've talked multiple times during other discussions about how tannins specifically bring mouthfeel, but they both influence mouthfeel.
Yeah, they do. And within each other, it's all about balance, okay? These are two parts of the balance triangle, if you will. Sweetness would be the third. And it is interesting because if you have something that's kind of meh and you add acid to it, it can oftentimes enhance the body and flavors and experience of a brew. Or you can add tannins. It changes it. Whoops, I keep bumping my microphone. I'm sorry. It enhances it in a whole different way. It adds more staying power. It adds grip and cling and makes it stay in your mouth longer. Very interesting that they can do similar things, but from different perspectives altogether.
Right. And so in the perspective of a body and building that structure of your beverage, as we've said already, tannins are bringing that tactile sensation of the body, where acids are bringing the energetic, the energy, the brightness, the spark, if you will, to that body.
But you know what's even better? Both at the same time.
But as you recall, this is how to build body in a beverage without sweetness. So neither tannin nor acid are sweet, but both affect perception of sweetness.
And this is very interesting. We just the other day tasted something. I don't know if it came out yet. Let me think. Yes, it did come out. It came out this past weekend. It was our hopped session hydromel. This is a great example of using tannins and acids with low sweetness to create a lot of body and mouthfeel. This is a low ABV mead that we made. I think it was 4.5% at the end that was hopped. And it's really interesting because the hops adds tannins. They also add acids. So those things combined really played so well with the carbonic acid of carbonation to create something that almost tastes a little sweet. It's kind of crazy, but the mouthfeel on this one is so powerful and so
It was light, refreshing, crisp in the mouth, but still had staying power. It didn't just fall and crumble.
Right.
It had a good structure, a good body.
Had a great body.
All right. So how do tannins and acids interact?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm going to let you take this one because you wrote the notes.
All right. So if you are overly acidic, if you have too much acid, you're going to get a sharp, sour sensation in the mouth that is going to detract from the beautiful structure that the tannins are going to build. And even having that tannic note in there with over acidity is going to make it even worse because it's going to be staying in your mouth and you're going to be wondering, why did you do this to me?
Okay. I understand that.
Or conversely,
If there's too much tannin and not enough acidity, you did say the other one, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, just kind of lost my place there for a second. Whereas the other way around, if you have too much tannin and not enough acidity, it's going to be like all sandpaper, all sand, and no brightness to make it worth having that mouthfeel. Wow, that's interesting.
So it's going to be kind of bitter and just have this residual going on in there.
Residual eh.
Residual eh.
There's another t-shirt.
You can quote me on that.
Residual eh.
So tannins can soften the perceived sharpness of acid with time or aging. And you may noticed lots of times in our 1 year aged tasting on the tasting room.
Needs more acid.
Or at the end of a brewing recipe, Brian will request for more acid. And because he knows the aging process tends to mute the acidity and having that sharpness.
I like the bright, sharp flavors that acid adds.
It's a pleasant thing. And so we want to make sure that it's there and it lasts throughout the life of the brew.
Oh, you know why I was lost in the notes? I was up here and she was actually down here. I wasn't there. So I lost my place in the notes.
It's okay.
That's why I said you take this one because I couldn't find my spot. It's not like we have a script. She just did like bullet points.
It's just bullet points.
And I lost my place. So none of this was making sense. And I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on. All right. But anyway, continuing on.
All right. So I know we've spouted off a bunch of words to you, and you may have some practical experience with these things, or you may not. So let's talk about practical examples.
Oh, okay. This is easy.
So one of our favorite ways, not only of learning more about how to describe things that we're experiencing, but also to get flavor inspiration, if you will, is to simply read wine labels.
Yep. One of our recipes from many years ago, black currant, black pepper wine, actually came from a bottle in Rollin' Oats, I think it was.
So, yeah.
And it was just a bottle of wine that they had there. It was just grape wine, but she read the description of it, and they talked about black currants and black pepper, and looked at me, and I looked at her, and I went, yeah, we can make that. So we did.
Yeah.
That's literally where it came from.
It was one of my favorite wines that we've made.
Actually came out wonderful.
It was lovely.
I want to do the next part, but what's that word?
It's labels.
Labels. Oh,
labels.
Okay. Lablis. Gotcha.
Derica speak is
not just that. The words. It looks like BBLES.
Yeah.
I'm like bubblies.
It's like a cursive print hybrid.
This is why I
with
type
bad spelling.
Yeah.
So,
but it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, we were talking about it, getting it from red wine labels, but like a lot of your red wines are high in tannins, high in acids. Not quite as high in acids, but they're high in tannins and they're low in sweetness. And they still come across as very rich and full and fulfilling beverages because the balance of those acids and tannins together. Red wines especially are perfect for that.
Yeah, there's some traditional reds from Europe that most people are familiar with, but there are some really great blends coming out of California. And if you haven't tried any of those, I really suggest you give one a chance. Being in the United States, if you are, you may find them more price friendly. And they have lesser restrictions, not only because they aren't allowed technically to call themselves one of the established wine things because they're not made.
Yeah, they're not those grapes
in that area. So they're creating their own thing, and they're growing different varieties of grapes and blending them
as
in
it
unique
should
ways.
be. Don't copy, create.
Some really great stuff's coming out of California. So read their labels and give them a try.
Another thing that's interesting, I gave the example of dry red wine being an example of high tannin, lower acid, and low sweetness. But there's also some white wines that are almost the opposite way. They're lower in tannins, low in sweetness, but higher in acidity.
Yep.
And they're kind of a great example of the opposites effect, yet still both creating a full experience. Now, a lot of this comes down to personal palate, too. Not everybody likes white wines. Not everybody likes red wines. Some people like both. And that's all good. good. That's why if you go to a liquor store and a wine store, there's hundreds and hundreds of things to choose from because everybody has their own tastes. There's no right or wrong, okay, is kind of what I'm getting at here. But we're just trying to describe the differences, and sometimes you find your personal preferences, and that's awesome. If you know what you like, make what you like. That's kind of what we do. We tend to not make things that we know we're not going to like because it's kind of a waste. And I don't like to promote the idea of making something that you know you're just going to throw away, because what's the point in spending the money on it then? I don't like to do that just for like effect or just to get views or anything like that. I'd rather make something that I want to enjoy or that I would think someone might enjoy. Sometimes we do it just to be crazy, but I still want to make something that I would probably want to consume.
If you go to a liquor store and they are offering samples, I urge you, I plead with you to try something out of your normal spectrum. If they have something that you've never tried before, say, may I have a sample of that? Because that may open your mind and your palate up to new possibilities that you can then utilize in your own homebrew.
Like tequilas that come in really cool glass bottles with glass stoppers.
Yep. Just be careful when the sweet lady offers you the age version, because you're probably going to purchase that one.
Yep. And spend like $40 more for the bottle.
Yep. May be talking from experience.
Yeah, not me. I mean, I paid for it, but I wasn't the one that chose it.
We paid for it.
Yes, this is true. We paid for it.
So we talked about...
I physically gave them the card,
yes.
But it's yeah, you're right.
Did you drink any of that?
Maybe one drink out of it.
It was good tequila.
Apparently.
All right. So we talked about the low sugar, high structure whites. Yep.
I did.
So now we're going to go into some non-alcoholic things for you to try to get a good balance point or objective idea of
perspective.
Yeah.
Give you an idea of what you can maybe put into context that you've experienced already as to what this is.
I think we've talked about it already, but it's tea. So
it's the easiest one.
Some black tea. Just
leave it for like half an hour. That's what her dad does with tea.
Walk away, come back, and then taste it. And you will feel...
Don't put anything in it, though.
That sensation in your mouth that Brian keeps referring to as sandpaper.
Because if you put anything else in it, now you're changing the balance. We're looking for something that's just tannic to give you an idea.
So to give you two comparisons for the price of one, go ahead and take that first gulp of it unadulterated, where you really feel the tannins grip your mouth, right? And then after you've acclimated to that and go, okay, now I'm getting the whole tannin thing, put a big old spoonful of honey or sugar in there, mix it all up, and then taste it again. And you will notice that the sweetness is masking some of that over tannic sensation.
Now, you say masking. I say they're enhancing each other.
Sure.
Because if you didn't have it as tannic and you put in that gulp of honey, it's not going to taste anywhere near as good. It's not going to have as much body because there isn't as much structure there to hold up the sweetness.
But this whole podcast is about building body with tannins and acid without sweetness.
Exactly. So if you took that super highly tannic tea and added lemon juice to it, you also can cancel out some of the tannic effect while still building body and making a much more interesting beverage. Now, it might not be to everybody's taste.
Which is, shockingly enough, my very next note.
Is it really?
If you add lemon to that tea.
Oh, lemon and tea. Oh, I saw lemon.
An acid and tannic balance.
Wow.
Da, da, da. And I think that's why Honored Palmer's, the combination of lemonade and iced tea are so popular.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have the perfect blend of tannins and acids with the addition of sweetness.
Speaking of Honored Palmer's, we got one coming.
We're brewing one right now.
It's
over there.
It's done. We just got to do a final tasting on it.
Yep.
Yeah. It went quick, too. Super easy. Anyway.
So now we're going to go to something that's near and dear to Brian's heart, and that's...
coffee. I don't know that it's near and dear to my heart. It's a requirement for the rest of the world to be able to deal with me, because if I don't have coffee, you don't want to be around me.
He's slightly unpleasant.
Yeah, at least for the first couple hours of the day. I have a little bit of a discrepancy with some of the descriptors for coffee because they say that it's acid. Now, it may molecularly be or something like that, but in my mind, I was always taught that highly acidic coffee is usually badly made coffee. It's not a desirable thing. Higher acidity in coffee can sometimes come from the beans themselves, but a lot of the time it's really from over extraction. That's where the bitter, nasty flavors come from. So, I will go off of the notes that she has here and we'll go with that. But coffee is they're still saying acid driven and tannin driven, and coffee changes. I can sort of agree to that. Like a lighter roast is brighter and is more acid driven. Yeah, except that I think more acids are actually produced once it's a heavier roast, but that's a whole other thing. And then dark roasts are more bitter. Now they're more bitter due to tannins and acids. Like I think more acid extraction happens in a heavier roast, and then there's more tannins because it's been cooked more. There's also acrylamide, which is created when it's roasted, and there's a whole bunch of a million compounds that are created when they're roasted. So there's more to it. See, coffee's a whole other thing.
I understand that. That's why I gave this for you.
I don't know that you really want to do this, because I can turn this into a coffee roasting thing. Because
this podcast is now brought to you by coffee.
Yeah. But coffee is a good example, because if you very, very, very lightly roast coffee and you brew with it, you're going to get something that tastes very bitter, and it's not going to taste like the coffee that you know, because a lot of the flavors of coffee are actually coming from the roast itself, not from the bean, which is kind of weird. That's why espresso, it's mostly roast. It's not really even bean anymore. Did I actually cover the notes that you wrote here?
You did.
I did?
You did fine. You did fine.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm a little particular about coffee.
He's very particular about coffee.
Be glad whiskey isn't on there.
Yeah, I made sure not to include that one. All right, so now we're just going to talk about foods, because these are other things that are available to you to get a better grip on the tannin acid route. So tannin.
Can I cover the first one?
Sure.
I want to. When it comes to foods, some things that have a lot of tannic ingredients, the first one that comes to mind is walnuts. And I want to describe an experience that I have with walnuts and see if anybody else experiences this. Walnuts are very high in tannins. Now, I knew this, but I didn't think about it much. And I will occasionally have just a small handful of walnuts. Got to get those omega-3s, right? But anyway, after eating them, sometimes I'll get like a small sore in my mouth. It's temporary. It goes away within a few hours. And it occurred to me that that is caused by the tannic acids actually being too strong in the mouth. Does anyone else get that, or is it just me? Okay, I guess it's just me.
Also, fruit and veg skins have lots of tannins. We talked about it already.
Yeah, I think like an apple peel, peach skin, the fuzz. I love peaches.
We've even noticed it in vegetable skins. Like we just made
eggplant does it.
An eggplant dish, and we left the skin on, and I did notice a bit of a tannic essence from the skin. It wasn't disturbing or anything. I left
them on to hold it together.
But it was there, and when you start thinking about these things and incorporating those thoughts into your daily experience of consuming food and beverages, you'll start to notice them. So acidic ingredients, of course, are lemon, vinegar, fermented foods. There's lots of things that have acids.
In another podcast that we did, I talked about the difference between like sour and acidic, because they're both caused by acids, with different kinds of acids and in different quantities. And I'm going to do it again because I just thought this was such a great comparison. If you take pickles, like Vlasic kosher dills, right, from the that you find on the shelf, versus a really good like deli style fermented dill pickle, if you compare those two, they're both technically acidic. One of them is going to taste kind of sour, and that's the fermented pickle. The other one's going to taste sharp and bright. That's the vinegar pickle. They're actually called refrigerator pickles. They're just literally a brine with vinegar in it, whereas the fermented pickle is actually fermented using lactic acid. So it's a whole different kind of acid. Two different things caused by the same compound. Very, very cool stuff.
That gives vastly different experiences.
Yep.
All right. So that is our practical tips. Now, tasting tips and how to practice. So
I did not read this
This
part,
is a little
so.
experiment that you can set up for yourself at home. We kind of talked about it briefly about adjusting the tea with the sugar and then the lemon to work on the correlation between the tannins and the acids. So you can taste side by side and compare different types of wines. You can do a dry red versus a dry white, something that was considered full-bodied or light-bodied, and compare those and see how are they reacting differently in your mouth. Are you detecting an acidic note, or are you detecting a tannic note? Are you noticing the structure? These type of things are fun, and that wine samplings, wine flights, that's something you can do with friends and have a great time, right? You can also do this with teas. There are so many different types of teas, be it black tea, green tea, white tea, herbal tea. They're all going to have varying degrees of tannins, and trying them and sampling them side by side. And if you have a good...
But you can even do a more side by side with teas where you do it like steep it for 1 minute, steep it for 3 minutes, steep it for 6 minutes, steep it for 12 minutes, and try those. And that will give you a great example of the difference in tannin levels.
Right.
And then, you can start adding lemon juice to it a little bit at a time. And you can vary the acidic component to it as well, so you can really see how they play off each other. I'm sorry, did I just totally take over what you were about to say, or was that what you were about to say?
No, that was mine. So sugar-free drinks, and you want to focus on ones that don't have artificial sweeteners in them. They're
what?
They're going to have different things available to create a flavor profile or structure to them without relying on sweetness. Now, these are going to be more difficult to find commercially because everybody just likes to throw...
Like, I want an example of a sugar-free drink without artificial sweeteners.
We've already talked about teas and coffees, but
there isn't much else, is there?
There's some
tonic water. No, that has sugar.
There's some herbal
seltzer water
type of things that don't have sweeteners.
Oh, okay. I was just curious, like if we're going to recommend an example of what to do.
I didn't have a specific
I'm sorry
to that. So
I didn't mean to poke holes in the in the notes.
That's right. But on all of these comparisons, you want to try to determine, where does the weight come from? Is it tannic or is it acid? Does it have a nice body? Does it feel kind of watery or flat?
You said weight. That's the first time you've used that term in this video, and I think we should explore that just for a second.
I was using weight as a comparative to body.
Yeah, it kind of is a synonym for that. So when she says, where does the weight come from? Like, say there's a strong mouthfeel, strong body to that. What's it from? Do you think it's from the tannin aspect, or is it from the acidic aspect, or is it from both? Is one stronger? Or that kind of thing. That's what we're looking for. Yep. I just wanted to explain that because I heard that and I went, we haven't used that term in that way. Does it mean the same thing? There's somebody at our front door.
All right. So that basically covers our deep dive into tannins and acids and how to create body without sweetness. We encourage you to take some of the samples that we have suggested and trying to explore the worlds of tannins and acids and different beverages that use them in different and unique ways. And which do you find personally more pleasing?
Now, I'd like to point something out too. We've been calling this a deep dive, but in reality, this is like the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot to this subject. We try really hard to keep it simple or break it down into simpler components so it's easier to digest. But each of those is, think of it more like a leaping off point than the end result, because you can take any one of the points that we gave and go further down the line on it. And really, Alice got nothing on some of the stuff that you can do in brews. There's a lot of rabbit holes you can jump down here. That's what I meant. It was a bad metaphor, but you get what I'm talking about. But yeah, there's so much to this. We just wanted to give a simple explanation so that if you're watching one of our videos and you hear us mention these terms or talk about why we're doing something, it makes a little bit more sense.
Have you ever tried a beverage that had a really great body but didn't have any sweetness? If so, let us know in the comments below.
And as always, guys, thank you so much for listening and have a great day.
Bye-bye.